Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for this video I wanted to go over our 5mm lineup. We have actually added quite a bit, a fair amount of development, a fair amount of new ideas, new things. I want to make you guys aware of just some of those things that we do offer. So starting with the most basic stuff, we do have our single color 5mm LEDs. Anybody that's built like a Lumisthetic kit is familiar with these. They sell great LEDs, and we have our own version as well. Just trying to keep everything in-house. If you're looking at buying stuff, these are solid. They're on par with what a Lumisthetic has. If you get any kits from a Lumisthetic, great. If you want to try to get it from us, we have them as well. If you want to buy a couple extra, you're buying some parts, you want to throw them in the cart, we've got them. These are ultra bright. They come in the white, amber, red colors that you typically need, and they do use the same resistor values as what a Lumisthetic kits do. I literally follow Lumisthetic's instructions for resistor load when I am running these in lights. So they're good, they're solid. If you need a couple extra, we do have them on the site. And generally they're the ones that I use when I do a build, just because we have them here. But better than what you're going to find most. In the case like Lumisthetic says, there are a lot of junk out there. If you go to Amazon, you type in 5mm LEDs, Shinzon or something like that, it's going to pop up, things like that. They're not that great, honestly. We do sell, just like a Lumisthetic, really good LEDs. A Lumisthetic sells good, so I'm not trying to... They do sell really good single color LEDs. So these are more supplemental. If you need a couple extra and you're already ordering something from the site, these are really good to just throw in the cart, add a couple extra. We sell them by the 100. And they're solid LEDs. Next up is our dual color. Now we have a couple different variations of the dual color. There's a combo, any combo of white, amber, and red. So you can get white and red, white and amber, red and amber. Whatever combination you want there, you can get it. We have ones with common anode and common cathode, basically a common ground and a common power. So there's a 3-wire, 3-pin setup to them. So it's a 3-pin setup. As you can see, right like that. Try to get it to pick up there. And it's got 3 pins to it. Your middle pin is going to be your common pin, and the outer 2 are your colors. So these, depending on your circumstance and what you're building, they can work pretty good. One issue is if you're running 12 volt and you don't want to regulate, then it's not quite ideal. If you're working on like a short run, like maybe you've only got like 12 LEDs or something like that, and you don't want to group them in groups of 3, this would work really well for that. You just run like a 5-volt inverter and then run resistors. I believe the value is like a 150. It depends if you're doing white or if you're doing the red or amber. But you'll run the appropriate resistor for a 5-volt load, and that way you can get a smooth sequential or whatever show modes. You basically get individual control over each LED doing it that way. So if you're running something like that, it works really well. Where it's not ideal is the traditional big Lumisthetic builds, something like this with a whole bunch of LEDs. You don't really want single control over each LED. Ideally, you just want to run resistors, 12 volt to everything, and not have to worry about a 5-volt inverter. I generally recommend that you run a 12-volt inverter if you are doing it, because the voltage fluctuations on the car can be extreme. In the case of if your battery's only running 11 volts, the LEDs won't be as bright, but then when your alternator kicks in at 14.5 volts, it might be enough to fry some of your LEDs. Having a 12-volt regulator will help to reduce possible failures of the LEDs. So I do recommend that you at least run a 12-volt inverter. So either way, you should run an inverter. But if you're going to use this method, I would run a 5-volt inverter. Now, when you can bring that down to 5 volts, use like a 150 ohm resistor, 150, 120, somewhere in that ballpark. And you can do, there's voltage calculators, LED voltage calculators online. You can search that online and you'll find tons of them out there that'll let you punch in the numbers. All of our data is on our packs as far as the LEDs, your voltage, recommended voltage, your current, your forward current, all the numbers that you need, they are on the bags to tell you what you need to do to put into the calculator, what numbers you need to put into the calculator to get the value of the resistor load that you want. That is the dual color. We do now have dual color that has 4 pins, and the benefits of that is that these can work in series. So if you want to run a white red LED, you want one LED that does both white and red for like a Ghost V5 sequencer, a Corso Motion sequencer, something like that. You can do that. I mean, even just a bare build with no controller at all that you're just running to the car, you can do that as well. And that is being that they have isolated grounds or power, in any of the case. The way these work, the power is actually the middle pins and the grounds are the outer pins. The way that you would end up running these is, if you think the way Lumistatic runs, you're going to do it the same way, but instead of having 2 separate LEDs, you're going to have 2 in 1. So you're going to have to separate that power and ground and then figure out what your loads are running forward and backwards for resistor values. So it's the exact same as what Lumistatic videos are. So I'm not going to get into too much detail on it. Just that it's 2 LEDs into 1. So basically you got your power and ground and then your power and ground for the other color. So these will work with variable loads, figure out what you need. In white, generally you want to have groups of 3 or 4, whereas with red and amber you can have like 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on what you're doing. Because white generally draws more voltage, closer to like 3.2, versus what amber and red are usually in the high 2s, mid 2s. But once again, all that data is on the pack. Even on the dual color, it does list what is the white, what is the amber, what is the red, depending on what colors you chose. It will list those in there. But yes, we do now have the isolated powers and grounds on these in the 4-pin variant. Next up is I'll go with the RGBs here. So these are the first 5 mils that we started having. We have gone through well over 100,000 of these things, and so far they have been rock solid. They do have the capacitors built in, which is the one thing that makes ours unique from anything that you will get on eBay. Even Lumistatic, they are now trying to get into having the capacitors built in. Before we had these developed, they weren't built in. You had to add capacitors to the backside, which was a little bit of pain in the butt. So we were able to get them made with the capacitors built in, so you will not get that flicker. So if you are using LEDs and trying to follow my older video where I show how to use RGB addressable and you're getting that flicker, if you didn't buy the LEDs from us, that's why. We are currently the only one that's currently selling it. We have been talking to Lumistatic about them carrying our LEDs, at least until they get their own developed. But currently, yeah, if you are having a flickering issue, it's probably the LEDs that you're using. There is a reason why a lot of our parts do cost more. We do not focus on cost as much as we do on quality. And with that, generally does come higher pricing, unfortunately. So, sorry about that, but quality has been my focus from the beginning. Anything that's not of quality, it's paramount that we figure out how to make it better. and get it to that level. So they do cost more. They're going to make your life easier when it comes to installing. So this is the RGB variant. It is based on a WS2812 chipset, and it is an RGB color order for the addressable. And once again, we do have a video going over how to use these, how to install these. And one thing to note is the pin order as to what is what, your data in, your power, your ground, and your data out. It does vary from the next product that we have, which is our RGBW version of the addressable. Both have 4 pins. The RGBW are shorter, so it's somewhat easy to identify which is which. But the bigger variation between these is keeping in mind that the tall pin on the RGBW is the ground, and the tall pin on the RGB is the power. So we have a lot of people that are using these and trying to follow the video for these, and unfortunately that is going to be your mess up, your hang up if you're running everything and nothing turns on. It's probably because you've got power going to the ground on these and ground going to the power. So you're going to have to flip that. So keep in mind, and it is on the description on our website. We also have a picture diagram showing which pin is which. So you're going to want to keep that in mind depending on what you're doing. And these are more expensive. These were very difficult to get 4 diodes into this 5mm package. So it does cost more. So if you're doing taillights, I highly recommend you go with these. They are much cheaper. These are really good for headlights. Generally with headlights, you're not running 300, 400, 500 LEDs. So, the cost isn't that bad. You can usually eat it pretty good. I'm actually doing a build right now. I've got like 18 in the whole build. So it's far less than when I do a taillight build with thousands of these things. At least hundreds. And so, keep that in mind. Variations between the two. This is based on an SK6812 chipset, so it is a GRBW color order. So it is compatible with our UCS as well as our SK RGBW LEDs, the stuff that we sell on the site, which is all GRBW color order. Where these are compatible with our RGB stuff that we saw on the site. That would include the UCS 2903, the SK6813s. It is compatible with these. On these, we did get another option done for them, and that is this style, which many of you have seen our headliner video showing how to do a headliner. That is what these are. But there's multi-purpose to these. I think I did a video here recently where I used these in some taillights for a WRX, and they worked really well for that case. And for the whole taillight, I only needed 50 of them. So literally one pack was enough to do it, and it made the install so much easier because of just how small they are. And they fit right in, no issues. I didn't even have to glue them in place, and they worked really well. They are using the same LEDs that we use here, just they are installed into a circuit board and then encased in a waterproof plastic packaging with the wires added. So cost-wise, of everything that I've shown you here, these are the highest. But there's also the most done to it. This is a lot of hands-on to create these, so that is the reason for the extra cost. One thing to keep in mind with these is the wiring. We are going to try to get better wiring on this, like JST connections, to make it a little more simple. But currently, if you grab them, you've got one end that has 3 wires on it, and the other one only has 2 sticking out. The one with 3 is your input side. And we do have a diagram showing which color is which, and I know the diagram looks a little bit weird, like, should the red one really be what it is? It is. Whatever the diagram says, go with that. Those are the proper colors for your ground, your power, and your data. Another easy way, if you're not quite sure, if you look on this one, the data is the only thing not sticking out. So right off the bat, your data is that one wire that's not on this side. Yeah, so easy way to figure out what's what direction. You're going to have to keep that in mind when you're cutting and using this stuff, which side is the power, which side is the ground. Ideally start from one side and work your way in if you're cutting and using this stuff. And that way you always know, okay, well, this side is my blank, whatever it is, input, output. And you know the direction everything flows, because it is not marked. This stuff does work really well for the headliners. In general, you're going to use the whole thing. My headliner has worked very well since install. Have not had any issues. Already been to a show, and I've ran it in my car for days, just testing it out, making sure everything's good. And so far, it's held up great, just like these have held up great. I think I've had the taillights that I built with these originally when we first got them in to trial them. I'm thinking it's pushing 2 years now, and still got the same lights in the car. I still go to every car show with them, run them for 12 hours plus at a time, and still not a single failure. They work very well. So solid LEDs. If you do have issues, by and large, the issues that we've seen, they do seem to be with people that are new to the LEDs. These are somewhat, on a complexity scale. It's not an easy build to use the 5 mils, and we have a video once again going over all that to try to explain how to do it. The heat variances of your soldering iron can play a role. If you bake your LEDs, you might get one that wants to stay blue. It's too much heat, so it can happen. But as I stated, I find that the more experienced people are having less issues. And it seems like the people that are newer to it are the ones that are finding problems and finding issues. So in general, there is a little bit of a learning curve to it, figuring out how to work with them, how to make them, minimal heat, leaded solder versus unleaded. Unleaded solder is a pain in the butt. I don't recommend using it. Don't try it. Go leaded. It'll flow better. You'll be able to put less heat to the LEDs to make that solder stick. And you're a lot less likely to overheat them and cause issues. In general, though, they work really well. Haven't had too many issues with them. But if you do get the occasional little one that doesn't want to turn off or just stays blue or something, it's a dead LED. Pull that LED, put another one in, you're good to go. But other than that, they've been solid. So far, the RGBWs have been solid as well. Just keeping in mind that little caveat that the tall pin is ground on the RGBWs, and the tall pin is power on the RGBs. And this stuff we do have picture diagrams on the website to reference to make sure that you don't get them confused. I look back myself frequently at diagrams to try and keep stuff straight, because it's a lot. So they're there for you. Definitely use them, utilize them. Okay, so other than that, the only other thing I did want to cover is that we are now carrying Ghost V5 sequencers. So those will be on the website as well. And once again, trying to make this one-stop shop as much as is reasonable for the things that we can't compete with Amazon or things like that. We're going to do a link. I see no reason in bulk stocking Amazon stuff to sell it at higher than Amazon prices. So in general, I don't do that. There might be a few exceptions, but by and large, if I can just give you a link to go buy it cheaper on Amazon, I'm just going to do that. If we can make a product that is better than what they sell on Amazon, then we're going to make it, we're going to buy it, we're going to sell it, even if it's more money. Just keep in mind, generally, if it costs more on our site, it's probably because it's built better. In general, that's the goal that I've been going with. And I am still a builder myself. I still build lights. Not as much as I used to, but, a couple sets a month. And I try to develop things that I can use, develop things that can make my builds better, and then in turn sell those parts to you guys so that you guys don't have to go through the crap that me and many other builders did over the years trying to find quality stuff that just works. I'm trying to get it all in one place, and obviously with you guys' help it allows me to develop more things, to develop and stock things that I want to use, that I want to exist, and then to develop those things even further. So I definitely appreciate you guys' support. I appreciate input and ideas. If there are things that you want and it does make sense, I do want to try to get it in. And that doesn't mean everything. You might have something that you think will be really valuable, but it may not really be, like custom boards for a Ford Pinto. I'm sorry, as much as those would be really nice, nobody's going to use them. It's not worth the development cost. So you just keep that in mind. If you do have an idea, by all means, reach out. Let me know what it is. If it's something feasible, I can get it done. If it's something that you want and you're willing to pay for it, I can get it done. But you got to keep in mind that if it is something like a custom board for a car or something like that, that I know is just not going to sell. Unfortunately, that's a lot of cost to incur to sell one or two boards. It's just not practical. So, it depends on the circumstances. By all means, reach out. If you have something that you want that doesn't exist, you'd like to get something created that doesn't exist, we can brainstorm on it. We can figure something out possibly. And if you're willing to cover development costs, generally we can get anything made. But if it's a really good idea, and something I think I can sell, then, shoot, I'll cover it all. I'll cover development costs. I don't mind. So definitely reach out. Any ideas that you guys have. And hopefully some of this stuff, the 5mm stuff, will be helpful to you guys. Once again, our LED-wise, they're all the same level of brightness, even though some of them have 4 diodes, 3 diodes, 2 diodes, or just 1 diode. Brightness level is the same on all of them. If you were to stack them side by side, I'm a go-to guy for the addressable stuff. I'm all about addressable. It just gives you so many more options than what the single color stuff will. I kind of look at it like good, better, best. This will do anything that these will do and more. So, a lot of people see the addressable stuff and, I don't need rainbow stuff on my headlights and stuff. Then don't. You don't have to use the full show modes and the rainbow stuff going on. You don't have to do any of that. But the nice thing is, you can change all of these settings on the fly. So if you're using the addressable stuff to build a board, instead of having to pre-program and wire everything like a Corso Motion or a V5 sequencer, and with the V5 it's nice because you can connect it to a computer, design a new code, and load that up and then make it do something different. But that is also a lot of work. With the addressable, if you're using a Ghost controller, you can literally just pull up the Ghost controller, change a couple little buttons, and now you got something completely different. So, to me, this is by and far the latest, greatest tech. This can do absolutely anything that this stuff can do, and then some. There is a little bit of extra cost to it, but if you factor in the flexibility of what it can do, and quite frankly, the reliability over some of these, and depending how you use these, there's techniques with everything to get reliability out of stuff. When I first started, I wasn't using inverters. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. 12-volt inverters greatly increased my reliability. Trying to go straight to the battery and using lower resistor values sort of worked, but sometimes I would still get failures on LEDs, and they'd come back, and I'd have to try to replace it, figure out what's this and that. Eventually everything worked fine. But as soon as I started implementing 12-volt inverters, regulators to keep that voltage going to the 5-volt sequencers, the V5 sequencers and the Corsa Motion sequencers, I stopped having those issues. So definitely something I recommend that you do if you are running the single color, dual color style setups. Whereas with these, technique wise, as long as you follow the basic addressable technique styles, you're going to need your 5-volt inverters. You're going to need to consider, some surge suppressors or something like that. Just a little bit extra insurance. And generally, you probably want to consider a power saver, being that these do draw power when they're off. These do not. So, there are some pros and cons, but if you follow the basic recipe for addressable that I show in many of my videos, these are rock solid. I use them generally. They are my go-to. Even if I've got red covers on a light, I usually will go with these just because of the flexibility, because of the reliability. I really do like using this style. So, should give you an idea. And, obviously this is an Alumistatic board. I still have Alumistatic cut all my boards. I have a laser cutter, yes. I let them do it. They are freaking masters at design and cutting. I mean, you can give them an idea and they will create the shape, mold it to the light, and do it all for a price that, quite frankly, I don't have the time to try to compete with. So Alumistatic, awesome, amazing company. I'm super glad that they're still making these boards, because if they ever stop, it's going to become an instant pain in my butt. So Alumistatic, solid option to get these style boards. Whatever lights you got, reach out to them, let them know what you got. They may have a design on file, they may not. If you go to the website and they don't have it, reach out to them. I have many times told them, hey, I got this light, can you do it? It's like, yeah, sure, send the light in. I ship the light in. They go in there, create whatever shape they need to do it out. They can even print designs on this stuff. They've got a printer that can print directly onto the plastic. So if you want to do some crazy special design on the outside of your panel for a little bit extra money, they can do that too. I can't speak highly enough of Alumistatic and the things that they offer. By no means am I trying to pull business away from them. They're a great company. They do really good stuff. But as with everything else, trying to develop, add new things, improve on the things that do exist as much as I can. And that's the main point of this lineup. It's more to accentuate, to add to Alumistatic's offerings and what they can do by bringing in dual color options, bringing in the RGB, RGBW addressable options, doing things like that to elevate what they do to another level. And that's the main purpose of this lineup. But enough talking. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, all that jazz. And until the next video, thanks for watching. Hey guys, so I almost forgot to cover a special tool that I had come across that I wanted to share with you guys. And it helps with the twisting of the pins on the RGB, RGBW addressable builds. As many of you know, these can get quite intense. This one here's got, I don't know, like 200-300 on one panel alone. That's a lot of twisting. And your wrist can start to hurt a little bit. And, so anything to make life a little bit easier, I'm always down for trying. I found something. It works really well. I've been using it a good bit, and I figured this is a good time to go ahead and share that with you guys. And that is the Untwist tool. This is actually meant for Cat 5, Cat 6 wire untwisting, but it works very well for what we're doing, which is actually the reverse of twisting wires instead of untwisting. It has a simple USB charger port on the bottom. Seems to hold a charge pretty good though, so you won't have to charge it too often. And then you've got a forward and backward button for actual rotation of the head. There is LED lights, as you saw, that will light up your work area. And then there is a head here that has almost like a little bit of a turbine opening, kind of like a turbo or something like that looking thing in there. But basically it directs the pins, so you can get this around the pins to where they go on each side of the little splines, and then it grabs a hold of them and twists them. And I will show you an example on this board. So as you can see on this board, I've got a couple here that I have not done yet. And all I have to do is just kind of line them up, get this down around, and you can kind of like twist it back and forth and move it a little bit to try to get it down there. You want to try to push it, slide it down to the base of those LEDs. And then you can push either forward or backwards, it really doesn't matter. And it will spin it just like that. It's just that easy. It's the push of a button. And it really has saved my wrist. Just like that. I have a link for this in the video description. You can get it from Amazon for about 150 bucks. If this is something you build a lot with the 5mm, or you plan on trying to get into it a lot, this tool is going to make your life a lot easier. If it's something you're just doing one time for your own car, it may not quite be worth the 150, but that's up to you. I mean, maybe it is. These are a heck of a lot. One taillight build can even approach 1,000 LEDs, possibly more. So being able to twist all your wires together will definitely make your life easier. So it's worth checking out. Like I said, the link is in the description. And once again, thanks for watching.